Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, we'll be continuing with the previous lecture which we did, that is databases in QML. So we created two tables, right? If you show in the Explorer, we can see that in the build folder, obviously we can change the location later, but for now, let's work with the build folder. Here you can see that we have two tables in the database. One stores ID and name, and the second stores ID, name, age, and phone number, right? The second is useless. This was only for testing purpose. We will be using the first table, right? So anyway, let's get started. In this video, we'll be fetching data from the database and inserting data into the database. And in the next video, we'll be deleting and updating, right? So let's go slow. So let's create some public methods here. So below constructor and below setup database, make all of them invocable, right? So I will call Q invocable. Void. Now we will say first. Okay. Let's make it void for now. After that, we will send the string to the QML file. So for now, we'll say just fetch items from database. So this is for fetching, and the other method save item to database. So this will save the item, right? Here we will pass two things. We will pass ID and we will pass name. So if you think about it, the table, the first table has two columns. If you see here, it has ID and it has name, right? If you press, let me just implement this method here, refactor, add definition, again, refactor, add definition. Here, if you see, the first table has two columns, ID and name. So we will do the same thing. We will store the ID here in this method, and here we will get all the database elements. So before getting, we will first go with the save thing because currently our database does not have any item here, right? So for that, let's first add some items here in the database, and later we will do stuff. So anyway, to save item, we have to pass this from the QML file, right? Otherwise, we can just set some random string here, but that will be meaningless. So let's pass from the UI. One more thing, the button should not set up the database. It should be called uh, like in the first phase of the program. Like whenever your program starts, we should call this method, right? So there are two ways of doing this. Whenever this window loads, we can use the component dot on completed signal. This signal will be fired whenever this white screen appears. Like when you click on here, when you click on run, you will see there is a small delay after the build and the white screen appears. After that, it will be like, okay. Okay, for now, let's just comment this out. I was just showing you. Let's remove this. Yeah. Let me run the application once. And if you see, there is a slight delay. It was first white in color, and then it was black. If you pause the video in a very slow speed, you will see it was white and then black, right? So whenever the window first appears, like whenever this window first appears in the screen, this will be fired. So here we can just add this method. So this will be the first thing whenever like this application is loaded, it will be the first thing we will call the setup database. So we don't need a button, right? Because think about it, if you do not set up the database, how will you insert items or add items, right? Making a button is not very efficient. Like, let's say I add two items before even setting up the database. What will happen? Nothing, right? The items won't be added because the database is not created or it's not opened, right? So always call this first, open the database. After that, perform operations like inserting, deleting, fetching, all this stuff. So I hope you got my point. First, always call this at the beginning. So we can use either component dot on completed, right? Or what we can do is we can make this method as static, and in the main.cpp file, we can say include backend helper, and we know main is the first We know main is the first method which is run when the application starts. So below app, we can say backend helper, setup database method. Because this is static, we can directly call this method, right? So either one is fine. You can either do this or do that, right? If you do this, it's visible because we are working with QML files. But yeah, anyway, let's just remove this. So uh, what we can do now is let's add items. So we will do something. We will add a text field. Let's do one thing. Let's add a row layout, or let's do a column layout. For that, you need to import Qt uh, quick.layouts. Yep. Now we will do a column layout, and I'll say anchors dot fill parent. Uh, or let's not do this. Just a width. Now simply width, not preferred width, because the parent of this layout is a window. If the parent was also a layout, I'd say layout dot preferred width or something, right? If you did not forget that, so I'll simply say width parent dot width minus 50 for some padding, and height. Forget about height, right? I'll say anchors dot horizontal center parent dot horizontal center. So this is in the center part, right? From the like this is the left, this is the right, and it's in the center part, right? With 50 gap. So also give some spacing between each element. Let's give it 20 spacing. Now what we will do is we will add two text fields. I'm adding text field because text field has a background property. You can see here it has a background property. So I'll say placeholder text will be enter ID to save, and layout dot uh, preferred width of, let's say, 200. Below that, also add a text field and enter name to save or something, right? So this is for the ID. Let's call this ID text field, and let's call this name text field. I hope you have guessed from now that we are taking the ID and the name from the user, and we will save here in the database. We are getting the ID and the name from the user from these text fields, right? After that, below that, we will add a button. We will say layout dot alignment u dot align a center, and the text of the button will be. I'm not adding QST or something, right? For faster, but the best practice is to do this. Q string translate. This is the best way. We should do this. So anyway, button will have a text like save to DB, and let's have a on click signal. So when you click on the button, if ID text field dot text, here you will get the text value, like whatever the user typed, you will get the value here, right? So if the text is equal to empty, or if the name text field dot text equal to empty, that means the user did not provide either the ID or the name. Like the user have has not provided us either the ID or the name. So if that is empty, what we will do is we will just simply return. So don't do anything. Like we cannot save empty values. Like we should not save empty values. That is a bad thing, right? So we are adding a check here. Like if either the ID is empty or the name is empty, don't do anything. Otherwise, we will call the method in backend helper dot save item to database. Now, if you remember, it requires two things: the ID and the name. So we already got the ID from this value, and we got the name from this value. Now, if you think about it, there is some repetition, right? If you look at this code, this is not very clear. Like dot text value, we can just simply do this. Like we can say const ID, the const underscore ID equals this. and const underscore name equals this. Const means we cannot modify this by any chance. If you say just if you just set it to equal to, right? So what will happen is if you even type 1 2 3, it will be overwritten by any mistake. Let's say you did equal to instead of triple equal to or double equal, right? So instead of checking, you just set the value, right? This is just setting the value, right? I hope you're getting me. So this is a mistake, right? A logical issue. So to prevent that, use const because const cannot assign, right? So we cannot just override the value. So this is a good check. You will get a warning directly. So if the ID is empty or the name is empty, return. Otherwise, as you have guessed, we are just passing the ID and the name, right? So for now, let's in this method, let's just console log. Uh, so Q debug, just print. Uh, we will print uh, backend helper this method, and then print the ID and the name. ID. Let's just do that for now and run the application once and see if it's working fine. Sorry. Okay, so it should have top uh, some top margin, right? So I will do this anchors.top, parent.top, anchors. Obviously, you should group them together, but I'm not doing this obviously for time constraint. I hope you're getting me right. So top margin again, this alignment thing to make it look a little bit decent. Again, the ordering and all this stuff you can just ignore, right? Again, the font size, let's make it very large, 15. So the string is visible to us. Forget about the styling for now. We will make projects with better styling, right, in the later future. Let's just run the application once. It should be visible and it should be clear. Yep. So the ID will be 1 2 3, and the name will be, let's say, what can be a name? Let's say Harry. Now click on Save to DB method, and it says backend helper save. So 1 2 3 and Harry both are received in this method here. Save item to DB. So we got the two values, right? Now what's left is to save in the database. So again, we will use query. So Q SQL query, and we will say query dot prepare. Here we will say insert into the table. Which table? If you see, we have two tables, right? First and second. The second is useless. We just created it for fun or for knowledge. We will always use the first table here. Uh, I'm not saying that sometimes we need useless tables. No, that's not it. Actually, we should only create useful tables. But for now, this is a demonstration purpose. So insert into first table values. Now let's see how Qt does this. So it says, let me zoom in for a bit. It says insert into person. Person is obviously the table name. Now it provides a parenthesis like you have to. This is optional. So after the table name, you can also provide what are the column names. So in our case, the column names are ID and name. So you can say ID, comma name. This is optional. We can do this or we cannot do this. So I'm not doing this right for simplicity purpose, but you can do that if you want, like if you want perfectionist code or something, right? And this thing is also to actually fill the values. So what we will do is give some space here for clarity purpose, and I'll say colon ID, comma colon name, and after that we will say query dot bind value. This is something new, and here I'll say wherever you find this colon ID, replace this with this value, and again similarly query dot bind value. Uh, in this string, wherever you find colon name, replace that with this value, right? So if this was underscore colon name, so what this will do is it will replace both this and this with this value which we are passing. So this was, let's say, Harry. So what it will do is it will replace this with Harry and this with Harry, right? I hope you got my point. So this colon thing will replace that and semicolon here. Now we have prepared the string. We have binded the value. Now we will execute the query. So we'll say query.exec. Right now, this exec provides a boolean, so we can see if the query was successful or not. So we'll say bool success equals this, and after that we can say qdebug, or let's say we can add if condition, right? If success, we will say console, not console log, sorry, qdebug item saved successfully. So if you think about it, we are passing two values and then binding them in the insert statement, and then we are executing the query. And then if the query was successful, this value will be true. If this is true, we will say item six successfully. Like here, we will log this thing, right? So let's run the application once and see. Yep. Let's see. ID is 123 and the name, let's say Paul. Let's click on save to DB. So item is saved successfully. Yeah, I removed the console log, so that was not printed now. Now let's open the database file. Okay, so this is the database file. Let's refresh. And if you see, we can see that two values are stored here. I cannot zoom in this because I think this is an issue here. They did not provide any option to zoom. But if you see, ID is stored as 123 and name is stored as Paul, right? Let's store another thing, right? So quit the application. We will quit the application one, and then the application was for. Now you will see the old value still remains because the database was created already, so it will not be overwritten. So there is still ID and 123 and Paul, right? So let's add a new ID. We will call this 234, and the name will be, let's say, Vlad, save to DB, and we can see item 6 successfully. So open the database once more and browse data. And as you can see, now we have two rows. Uh, the first row is 123 and the second row is Paul, right? How to increase the font size? Okay, so there is no way to increase the font size. My bad, guys. I don't know. Okay, preference. Okay, I think like this, I guess. Yeah, wow, they increased everything except these two values. Funny. But anyway, I hope you got my point. That this was 123, and like the items are saved. So we are successfully able to insert the values into the database. Now, what's left is to fetch from the database, right? So you need to fetch, and we can obviously show them in the QML file in the form of a list, which we will do in the later videos. But for now, just fetch and print directly. Here, we will just console log or qdebug and print all the items from the database. So it's very simple. What we will do is we will use QSQL query. If you observe, we need QSQL query everywhere, right? So QSQL query, I'll say query dot prepare, and here we will say select star. It means uh, print everything, all the rows, all the columns, everything from. Now here you need to provide the table name. Now what was the table name? It was first table, right? So select start from first table. Now execute the query, query.exec, and now we will see uh, while now we have executed the query, but we need to fetch the data, right? If you remember, this returns a Boolean value, right? It returns a Boolean, true or false, like whether the query was successful or not. But we need the data, right? We do not need the success or false anything, right? This is meaningless here. We just need the data. So how to do that? So we'll say while query dot next. Uh, what happens is, let's say our table has two rows. So this next will run two times, right? We are looping over the result. So this here already run. We got the result. Now loop over result array and print. So this is useful for looping over the result, right? So this query dot next, it will loop over all the result. When you execute the query, we already got the result, right? So let's see how they loop over the result. So if you see, well, query dot next, they are storing the string and then doing something. So what we will do is we'll do this int id equals query dot. Uh, they have written query dot value. So we will do that. Now we can obviously add some other methods, but for now, say, let's just see what this value does. This returns the value of the row, field index of the current record. So, so this thing is very complicated for now. So I'll try to tell you in very simple terms. Let's say, okay, let's say our table has three rows. One is ID, one is name, and one is age. So this is row number zero. This is row number one. This is row or column number zero. Sorry, this is column zero. This is column one, and this is column number two. So if you want this value, right, you'll say dot value two, like uh, query dot value two. So you will get this value. Now we do not know what this type is, right? It can be string, it can be integer, what. So we need to tell this that convert it to two string, right? Because the data type can be anything, right? So for example, let's say I am storing the data in the form of numbers, but here I want to like convert it to string or vice versa, right? So that's why we also need to tell the data type. Like we fetch the data using this value method and then also tell the data type. So for example, let's say it has this many columns, right? So ID, name, age, uh, X, Y, Z, something. So we need this value, right? Let's say the value is 20. So how to do that? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So query dot value 4 dot to int if you want the integer value, right? Or to string if you want the string value. So if you see, they did exactly that. So we need the ID, so it will be dot 0 dot to int, right? And similarly for string, we'll say q string name equals query dot value 1 dot to string. And now we will just qdebug. So we will say the ID is ID and name is, let me remove this thing, name, and this will run as long as we are getting the result, right? So this will all like if you have two rows, this loop will run two times and two times will print this string, right? So let's do this for this fetch thing. Let's add a button below this. So we'll say button, uh, again copy all of this stuff, and instead of on click, what we will say is fetch from DB, and on click we will call the backend helper dot fetch items from the database, this method, right? So let's stop the application, run it once. And as you can see, we got two things, right? Now, if you add one more thing, let's say we add three and the name, let's say Jamal, something, right? So you click on save, so item is saved. Now, when you click on fetch, three items should load, right? So if you see three items are loading because we just saved one more. If you save, let's say five, and name can be anything, right? So if you save to DB and clear this and click on fetch from DB, so this time four are loading, right? So I hope you got this point. I know this is a bit confusing, but think of it like this. Let's say, let's say we have a table with let's say three rows, three columns, ID and phone number, and let's say amount, right? So we know that this amount should be integer, right, or number or double anything, right? Right, but it's still, let's say, by any case, in the future, someone stores in the form of string, like text. So to actually get, let's say, double amount equals query dot value, and this is 0, 1, 2. So second column dot to double, right? This is very important to convert this value, right? Because currently this is Q variant. Like just think of this like this. This currently has no data type, so we need to tell that convert it to double or convert it to string or convert it to float, right? For safety purpose. So that's why we are using this toString method. If you see this value, if we will see this is Q variant. So what is Q variant? This is basically like void pointer. If you have learned C programming, you know void has no return type. Like this can store anything, right? But this itself has no like return type or like no value of itself, right? So if you want to convert, like if you want to get int value, we need to convert it to integer pointer or double pointer. So think of it like void. So that's why we are using this toString method here. And for the second column, we need value 1 because indexing starts from 0. So this was about fetch items and save items. In the next video, we'll be obviously adding more constraint here. Like if the ID is already present, then do not store it. Or if the ID is already present, then update it. Yeah, we can do that. Like if the ID is already present, like 234 is already present. So let's say we change the name. So we should update it, right? Instead of just duplicating things, we should update it. So update and delete we will learn in the next video. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Yeah. And thank you for wishing me welcome back. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys. It was back for a bit of time, but yeah, we'll cover the sequel. Don't worry. I think 10 or 12 more videos and then we'll make projects.